This was another list that was really hard to boil down to just 5. The Ceadeed Axe is hard to make, again like the other weapons, but it's really strong. 1566 attack with the power is incredibly strong. You also get a nice 20% defense boost and 15% affinity. The thing you have to watch out for is that the purple sharpness is not that long, so you want to be using razor sharp with this sucker. I consider the Chameleos switch axe the very best in the entire game. It's got 1458 power, 300 poison, it's got 3 slots, and it's got really good purple and long white, so it's incredibly well balanced, very versatile, goes with a lot of different sets, and it looks really cool to boot. I don't think you can go wrong with this one. I admit I was a little hesitant to show this one, but the Seregios switch axe is really powerful. However, you must learn how to play this one a little bit differently than the other switch axes, because you have to exploit that natural sharpness healing ability and use razor sharp in order to make this really shine its potential. But if you can, this thing is an absolute beast. The Stygian Vanagloria switch axe, like a lot of its other weapons, is really good. At 1512 attack, it stands out against other elemental weapons. It's got 250 dragon, power, no slots. It's got slightly small purple but very long white, so this thing is good for long hunts. It also looks really cool, and you can make it kind of earlier than the other ones. It was a real toss-up between this or the Crimson Fatalis switch axe, but I gotta say, this thing really helps you get through G2, so I had to recommend it. The Tigerstripe Zamtrios has solid attack for that point in the game, 240 paralysis makes it strong against any monster, and it's got nice long white as well, but you're going to want to use this with sharpness +1. And now 2 honorable mentions. For almost every switch axe, because of the 20% attack boost, you're always going to be using it in sword mode. However, the Savage Deviljho one is really great because it's got very strong attack, and it's an elemental type, so you basically can use this thing in axe mode the entire time and not feel guilty. To me, it's a nice departure. I enjoy the axe mode a lot, so I'll often go on solo hunts on expeditions using this weapon. Also, I have to give Crimson Fatalis switch axe a call out as well. Although it's not a power file, it's an elemental one. Look at that blast value. There's a lot of weapons that have blasts where in the beginning you might be blowing up the monster a lot, but later on in the fight you're really not. But given these values, you're going to be blowing up monsters all the way through the very end. It's incredibly powerful, great for breaking parts, and a lot of fun to use. Finally, I thought I would just share some of my thoughts on the switch axe. In Japan, we actually call it the slash axe, just in case you guys didn't know. It's sort of like the charge blade. We call that the charge axe. So they kind of flip them, right? Slash axe, I think, is kind of representative of the weapon because most of the time you're going to be using the sword mode. That's thanks to the 20% attack boost that you get with power files. And it's not to say that the elemental types aren't any good. They are. You just really need to know how to use the right one against the right monster. You got to know the right parts to hit. So for general, I think more mindless hunting, the power files just sort of take over. Switch axe is actually the last weapon of the 12 before 4U that I decided to learn. And there's kind of a specific reason why. So I started playing the game first with Monster Hunter 3G, and that's the Japanese version of what you guys got for 3 Ultimate. I was playing in the office and I couldn't find anybody to play with for a long time. So I soloed my way all the way through G rank until the very end. And even to this day, I'm pretty proud of that accomplishment. Finally, I did find 2 people in my office that were playing the game still. One of them was a great sword user, and the other one was a switch axe user. Now, the problem I ran into was that this other guy with the switch axe, which was really powerful back in 3G, would just hack and slash all over the place and knock me around silly because I was a lance player. Now, if you've never played lance, you wouldn't know it, but a lance doesn't have any type of protection against getting hit, so even the smallest of things will sort of knock you out of attacks and annoy you. Anyway, I always really hated the switch axe because of this player. I vowed to myself that I hated all switch axes, I would never learn it, I would never play it, and I let my emotions get the best of me. Eventually, after tanking in over 1,000 hours on 3G, there was really only one more weapon for me to learn, and I actually put it off for like a month or two. I was that emotionally scarred, I think, from the Switch Axe usage that I had put up with. And again, I have no idea if this is a regular experience for people. I know a lot of people have this with Longsword, but I had it with Switch Axe. So anyway, I finally picked it up, and what I discovered was that Switch Axe is actually one of my favorite weapons in the game. Like Hunting Horn, I like to describe it to people as a feel-good weapon. It just feels really good to use it. I feel both powerful and agile at the same time. In Monster Hunter 4, I ended up making every single Switch Axe that you can have in the game. In 4G, I made just about every one. So boiling this list down to just 5 was incredibly tough. There's a lot of other really good Switch Axes in this game, like the Brachydios one is really nice. The Kirin one is really nice if you like thunder. There's just a whole bunch. I also really like the Dalamadur one, both the design and even the ability as well. It has blast and it's not awaken, and it's got a really long white gauge, so you can just use it without ever thinking about sharpening. Anyway, as I went through Monster Hunter, I ended up really liking evasion skills. You'll see it on a lot of my sets. And Switch Axe, I thought, was just all power. But it does have that nice sidestep, which, when you pair it with evasion 1, 2, or even 3, it allows you to really dance around the enemy and look for openings. One of the things that I like about Switch Axe is that although you're always on an enemy and you're dodging around and hitting them here and there, it's all about that moment where either you flinch them, you knock them over, they're mounted, something happens, and you have your moment to shine. And this is where I think, depending on the weapon you're using, like the different Switch Axes, the approach that you get is a little bit different, which is why I tend to make all the Switch Axes and enjoy using them all. And it's in these glory moments that I think that you can really exploit whatever strength that particular Switch Axe has. If it has a high elemental, you can jam on very fast sword combos and do a lot of elemental and power damage as well. If it's got a lot of sharpness, you can just wail on the thing with axe mode and not even care. You know, it's kind of different for everyone, so I encourage people to try out Switch Axe, and I encourage them to try out a lot of different ones, because to me it's just one of those personal weapons that I tend to make more than one, and I really enjoy them. Anyways, I hope you guys don't mind hearing me rambling on about this weapon, but it is really fun, so I hope you give it a shot. Happy hunting.